friends, I'm Valeria at Chase and Paper. Welcome back to my channel. As always, I want to make sure that you guys know how much I truly appreciate your support and how grateful I am for each and every one of you. I appreciate every subscriber, every like, and every comment. So as you are watching this video, please take a moment to let me know what state or what country you are watching from. Now let's talk about today's video. Now I know that you guys have been really enjoying my freezer paper videos, but a lot of my subscribers shared that they don't have freezer paper where they live. So in this video, I am going to explore 3 alternative techniques on how to add integrity to your paper napkins and your magazine pages that are thin and flimsy, or even thin and fragile book pages. And we are going to do it without any help from freezer paper. Now, if freezer paper is readily available where you live, I know you're still going to like this video and it's still going to be very helpful because some of the techniques we are going to explore allow you to achieve the results that you cannot achieve with freezer paper alone. So even if you're in the US and you have your freezer paper, just make sure to stick around and watch this, you won't regret it. Besides, I'm going to show you how to make a couple of really quick and easy projects with your reinforced napkins or magazine pages. My subscribers from all over the world asked me to share alternatives on using freezer paper. And so this one's for you, Helen, Kylie, Pamela, Deborah, Lolly, Amis, Sandra, Minan, and Letitia. And also my crafty friends Jeanette, Janet, and Mary wanted to know if you could use cling wrap instead of freezer paper. Well, I am going to answer that question in this video. And if I mention your name, my friends, I'm also going to tag you in this video's description so that you don't miss it. Now, all my other friends, if you're watching and you have a question about a certain technique or a project, please let me know in the comments and I will do my best to answer your question as well. Before we begin, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with a crafty friend or two. Thank you so much. Now let's begin. So the first technique I'm going to share is actually my least favorite. And that's because it's inconsistent, okay? That's just the only way to describe it. The results are inconsistent. So even though personally I'm not a fan, I'm going to share this technique with you so that you can make your own educated decision on whether you want to use it or not. So here we have this beautiful napkin. And it's too thin and flimsy to work with on its own. So the idea is to add some strength and integrity to this napkin. So let's take this napkin and mount it onto a sheet of printer paper. This napkin is quite large, so I'm going to cut it in half. Now let's go ahead and separate our layers. The easiest way to separate your layers is to use a little piece of sticky tape. I'm going to stick it onto the corner and pull. And my layer is coming right off. And now the second layer. And this napkin is separated. We have our very pretty top layer only. Let me put it aside for a moment. So because we are going to be working with a very hot iron, it is very important to protect your table. What I have here is actually not the table. It's a thick wooden board, which is placed on top of folded large bath towels, and those towels are in turn placed on my table. So my table is really well protected. And what I have on top of my wooden board is this silicone baking mat. And this silicone mat is here because it is non-stick and it's heat resistant. This is what it looks like in its original packaging. So my friends in the US, if you're wondering where it came from Dollar General. So now that we prepped our ironing station, I went ahead and I opened my windows. It is very important to work in a well-ventilated area because we are going to be melting some plastic. And here comes our plastic, which I just mentioned. This is cling wrap, also known as saran wrap or plastic wrap. So first I'm putting down my paper. Next I'm going to tear a sheet of this plastic wrap and stick it here. Now we are putting our napkin on top. Make sure that the pretty side of your napkin is facing you. And now I am going to grab a piece of parchment paper, also known as baking paper. And we are going to cover our project up with our parchment paper. And this is going to protect our iron from getting all that plastic melting onto the iron. Now, if you don't have one of these silicone mats, use another piece of parchment paper instead of a silicone mat on the bottom. Now my iron is set to its hottest setting, which is linen, and my steam function is off. I'm starting in the center and I'm pushing all the air bubbles out towards the edges. And I'm paying special attention to my corners and to all my edges. Now let's see what we have so far. And it appears that our papers are beginning to fuse, but I can see that it's popping off on the edges and there are a lot of air bubbles. Let me try and flip it over. And now we are going to go over the back. And this napkin appears to be fused onto the paper. So now let's set it aside to cool for a couple of minutes. Now while we are waiting for our first page to cool, let's go ahead and try the same technique with the magazine page. Now instead of mounting this magazine page on just a white sheet of paper, I thought it would be fun to try and mount it onto this page from an old accounting pad. So first of all, I'm going to cut this a little bit smaller so it fits my magazine page just right. I'm going to go ahead and flip this page with the printed side down. And now I'm getting my plastic wrap. I'm going to go ahead and put my magazine page on top of that. And again, my good side, the side that I want to be visible, is facing up. And we are going to cover it up with our parchment paper. And let's go over it with the hot iron. Let's flip it over. And let's cover it up. And go over the back side again. It appears to be fused pretty well. Let's go ahead and set it aside. Meanwhile, let's look at our first napkin. I'm going to go ahead and cut around the edge. And this napkin actually seems to be bonded to the paper pretty well. Here's what the back side looks like. So far, I don't see any issues. And it's ready to be put to work in our project. Let's look at the second page. It is completely cool at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out as well. And this one seems to be having some separation at the corner. Now, once that happens, watch this. As soon as your corner begins to peel, your page just peeling off. And so to me, that just doesn't have good integrity. First of all, let me go ahead and separate this page completely. So you can see that it really doesn't have the integrity. That should also answer your question, because you may have a question, what would happen if I just glued down that one corner that started peeling? In the real world, all these projects are going to be handled, and your next corner will begin peeling, and then the next one, and until your paper just comes off. And I still want to use this magazine page because it's so pretty. So we are definitely going to see if we can rescue this beautiful page. So let me put this aside and let me show you some other examples I'm talking about. So I was able to achieve some really beautiful results with this technique. For example, this pretty napkin that I mounted on top of a dictionary page. And this beautiful sunflower napkin, which I mounted onto a coffee dyed paper. These are very pretty. However, I tried mounting this same napkin onto the coffee dyed paper, and this was a complete fail. Look at this. As soon as one corner peeled, look what's happening. And to make matters worse, it's also peeling on the side of the paper. Again, same napkin, different paper, it didn't work. And I wish I could tell you, oh, just don't use a coffee dyed paper. But no, because this napkin worked on the coffee dyed paper perfectly well. So, like I said, the results are inconsistent. And you guys, I tried about 40 different combinations as I was preparing for my video. And yes, I know some people will say, that's crazy, why did you waste your time? Well, if you guys are going to take the time to watch my video, then I am going to take my time and do my homework, because I know how valuable and precious your time is. And so I feel like if you're choosing to spend the time with me, then I'm going to put out something that's going to have value. And so I always do my research before I share something with you. I hope that makes sense. So as I was saying, I tried about 40 different combinations, and I actually tried 2 different types of plastic wrap. So this brand is Glad, and this is a cheaper plastic wrap, which I bought at the Dollar Tree. I tried them both and I did not see much difference. So my verdict for this technique is the results are inconsistent. There are too many different variables to have good results each and every single time. And you might be lucky and you may find a winning combination, just like I did a few times. But unfortunately, the only way to find out is through trial and error. And to me, it's not worth the time. So for that reason, I wouldn't recommend this technique. But if there is something that you want to give a try and you want to see if the napkins that you have on hand will stick to the paper that you're trying to bind it to, then by all means go ahead and give this a try, and hopefully it works. And go ahead and let me know in the comments if you ever used this technique before and if you were successful with it. So there you go, guys. That's up to you whether you want to use this technique or not. But I shared how it's done, so you have that in your toolbox. So then what would I recommend instead? Well, I have a couple of other things up my sleeve. So let me grab another pretty napkin and another sheet of coffee dyed paper. And now, instead of using that plastic wrap for trying to bind them together with mixed results, I know, I can feel the panic setting in. And that's because a lot of us crafters having PTSD from trying to stick a napkin onto a wet Mod Podge surface. We all tried it at some point and we all wound up with a sticky, gluey mess. Napkin will stick to just about anything, your table, your fingers, but not where you want it to go, and it's going to crumple up and it's going to tear. And yes, I know all about it, don't ask me how. But wait, don't leave, because that's not what we are going to do. I'm going to use my glue mat and I'm putting my paper down. Whichever side you like better, make sure to place that side down, with the side you don't like as much facing up. And I poured a little bit of Mod Podge into this dish. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start brushing my Mod Podge onto my coffee dyed paper. And make sure it's a nice generous layer, then that it's properly spread all the way through. And now I'm going to take this and put this aside and let it dry. And now, thanks to the magic of television, my paper is completely dry. Just kidding, I prepared one last night. This is the same coffee dyed paper with one layer of Mod Podge brushed on. And do you see how this side is now kind of shiny? That's the side we are going to work with. So now I'm putting my napkin on top of this paper. And I'm going to cover it up with parchment paper again. And once again, I'm going to use my hot iron. And this is beautiful. The bond seems to be nice and strong. We don't have wrinkles, we didn't have a sticky mess, and it worked. And so we started with this white flimsy napkin, and now it has this beautiful vintage feel. It's strong, just like paper, and we didn't need to use freezer paper or plastic wrap. Now you can prep several of these Mod Podge painted papers, and after they're fully and completely dry, you can just store them and use them as needed. So let's go ahead and see how well it would work with the magazine page. And so here's our magazine page, which was a complete and a total fail with the plastic wrap technique. I'm going to put it on top of my paper, covering it up with my parchment paper, and I'm beginning to iron. And what is happening now is dry heat from my iron is reactivating the Mod Podge. And as Mod Podge reactivates, we are getting a nice strong bond, but we don't have to worry about any sticky messes, wrinkles, or ripping our paper. And let's have a review. And now we have a beautiful strong bond, and I'm really quite happy with it. I trust it a lot more than plastic wrap. Even if you miss some of your corners, like I missed this one, let me show you. It is not easily separating. See, if I try to pull, the papers kind of start beginning to tear. So that tells me that the overall bond is really strong. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fix that little corner with some glue, and that's it. And so I feel good about sharing this technique, my friends, because it has a lot more consistent results, and it works on both paper napkins and magazine pages. And now I saved the best for last. This is the stuff that I really like. It's called Heat and Bond, and what it is, it's an iron-on adhesive. If you are into sewing and quilting, you're probably familiar with this product, but some of us paper crafters don't know much about it. And this stuff is readily available in most of the sewing shops and craft stores. I actually bought mine on Amazon. I like this stuff even better than Mod Podge because you don't have to paint anything. You don't have to wait for your Mod Podge to dry, so there is less steps. And the results are always on point. It always works. And the best thing about it is that not only it will hold paper to paper, it will also hold fabric to fabric or fabric to paper. So there are so many crafting possibilities with this. The sky is the limit. So let me show you how this works. So I'm going to take this little piece of cotton and I'm going to fuse it onto this craft paper. This is just a regular brown paper that you often find in your packages. So we need to cut a piece of this iron-on adhesive. And see, it has this paper backing, so it's really easy to work with. So I cut a piece of Heat and Bond, which is just a slightly little bit bigger than my piece of fabric. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip this fabric over like this, with the printed side down and the wrong side facing up. And now I'm going to place Heat and Bond with the shiny side down and the paper side facing us. And now I'm going to cover it up with a sheet of parchment paper. And I am going to go over it with a hot iron. Directions on the package suggest holding the iron for 2 seconds in each area so that our glue can melt. And now we need to let it cool for a couple of minutes. And our fabric bonded to the Heat and Bond really well. It's a really good strong bond. Next we need to peel this paper backing, and that's kind of a little bit like peeling off a sticker backing, if you know what I mean. But once you grab that corner, it will come off really easy. Now this side feels kind of plasticky, but it's not sticky. We are going to now bond this piece onto our paper. I went ahead and I cut a piece of packing paper, and we need to place our fabric with our adhesive shiny side down right onto our paper. And now once again we are going to cover it up with parchment paper and go over it with the iron. And that's it. Let's remove the parchment paper. And we are going to let it cool. And now that our fabric is completely cool, let's go ahead and cut it out. And would you look at that? This is beautiful. Such a beautiful texture. You could make a journal cover out of this material, or you could make tags, bookmarks, pockets, envelopes, whatever you like to make. And if you guys are wondering how well it works with paper napkins, it works great. This is a paper napkin that I bonded to a printer paper. And this is a napkin that I bonded to a book page. And I chose a glossy book page on purpose because those seem to be more difficult to bind anything onto. And it worked just perfectly well. The only thing I need to mention is that the adhesive seems to be seeping through the napkin a little bit. So once your napkin dries, it has kind of a rough surface. But in my opinion, it looks beautiful. It actually adds texture. I really like it. I think it actually adds to the project. It looks almost like an old painting on canvas. And now that we have all these beautiful papers, let me go ahead and show you just a couple of quick projects that you might want to use them for. I'm going to work with this paper first. I'm going to go ahead and cut a long strip about 3¼ inches wide. So now we have this strip, which is going to serve as a base for our fold-out pocket. Now on the remaining part of my napkin, I'm going to go ahead and cut off this top part because I am going to use this flower. Now we have this remaining part and I'm going to cut a strip, which is going to be as wide as our first strip, and cut. Now we are going to work with our long strip. I'm going to flip it over like this, and I am going to fold down about 2 inches from the top. And now I am going to fold up the bottom almost to the top crease. And I crease it. This is what our base looks like. It's going to open here and we are going to add some pockets on the bottom. We are going to use this shorter strip to create our pockets to go on the bottom of our fold out. And because I'm working with one-sided paper and I want both of my pockets to have some pretty prints on them and I want to make it the easiest way possible, this is how I'm going to do this. I'm gonna flip it over. And I'm going to fold this bottom part up, maybe just about 1 inch or 1¼ inch. But you can make this in any size. Now I'm going to bring this part down, almost down to the crease, not quite, but almost. And now I'm going to have 2 pockets and I didn't have to do any measurements. Next, I'm going to use my glue stick and close this part. I'm putting my glue on the top part of the fold and closing it. At this point, if you like, you can add a little thumb hole notch on both of these pockets. I'm going to use my 1-inch circle punch. Now I'm going to use my art glitter glue to close this first pocket. I'm putting some glue on both sides and closing it. Now I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to put some glue on the back side of this pocket. Putting the glue on both sides and on the bottom of this pocket. And I'm placing it down right here. And now I'm going to use the remaining part of our napkin to make a pretty writing card to go with this little fold out pocket. And I'm going to bag this thin paper with this piece of scrapbooking paper that I had. I want my card to be a little bit smaller than this middle section right here because that's where it's going to live. And I'm just going to match it up against that middle section and put little marks, so that I know how big I want it to be. Beautiful. Now I'm going to need this part to be just a little bit smaller than the base because I do want a little border showing all around my picture. And now that my top layer is cut out, I'm going to go ahead and round the corners. I'm going to go ahead and glue this layer on top. And the back is going to be perfect for writing. And our pretty writing card is finished. Now I want this card to be held in this middle section with a belly band. Here's how I'm going to create my perfect belly band. I am going to put it in the middle right here. I'm going to wrap the edges around my card. This way I know it fits. And I know the fit is good and it's not going to fall out. I'm going to remove this card for now. And I'm going to apply some art glitter glue. And I'm aiming for the center. Now I want to reinforce the folds with this washi tape because I kind of really like the look and I think it's going to add extra strength to the fold, but also a nice decorational touch. There we have it. Putting my card back in. And I also went ahead and rounded the corners on my top flap. And now let's go ahead and put something fun in the pockets. And I'm going to put this pretty little girl from Tim Holtz paper doll collection. And this young gentleman is going to go in the pocket right behind her. Oh my goodness, isn't it adorable? Don't they just look like a brother and a sister? I think it turned out so pretty. And now let's go ahead and add the closure. I am going to glue this butterfly die cut on the front. I'm going to put some glue on the bottom wing only. And it helps if I put that flap down so that I can see exactly how it's going to work. Just make sure there's no glue on that side where you just placed your flap. And now that my glue is dry and my butterfly is secure, this is how it works. And look how pretty it looks. This would look great included in any junk journal, or you can include it with your happy mail, or just send something to a friend. You can include a recipe card instead of a writing card, and you could include a gift card, your artist trading cards, right? ATCs. So many different uses for these beautiful little pockets. And it's just a great way to use up your unwanted scraps and book pages. So there you go. I hope you like this little pocket, and I certainly hope you're going to give this a try. And let's go ahead and make something else. For this next project, I'm going to use my beautiful sunflower napkin attached to my coffee dyed paper. And now we are going to make something I called a 4 belly band pocket card. These are really easy to make as long as you begin with the rectangular piece of paper. I got a little bit ahead of myself and I didn't film a couple of steps, but that's okay. I'm going to recreate this process, just ignore the creases. So now I'm going to flip over this paper with the blank side facing me. And I am going to grab this right side and fold it this way. But instead of bringing it all the way to the edge, I'm going to leave maybe about 1 1/4 inches strip right here. And I crease it on this side. Next, I'm going to grab this edge and fold it this way. And this one is also about 1 1/4 inches wide. Again, the measurements are really and truly are not that important. Next, I'm going to grab this edge on the left and I am going to fold it to the right. Just enough to kind of tuck it underneath the edge of this paper. And I'm going to put a nice crease. Now this little strip, which looks like a belly band, is actually going to form a pocket. Let's use our art glitter glue on the top and on the bottom. And what we have here now is we formed a little pocket. Now let's go ahead and open it. And I want to go ahead and glue this part down like that. I'm closing it. Now let's go ahead and form our larger pocket. I'm going to add glue right here along the top edge and along the bottom edge. And I'm closing it. And now let's look at what we have so far. it looks like a belly band, but it's actually a faux belly band, right? Because it's actually pockets. There is a pocket on this side, and see, it doesn't go any farther than that. There is a pocket on the left side. That's kind of a deeper pocket. And now we can go ahead and add a real belly band on top. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue on the top and bottom edges of this strip. And I'm putting it down. And now we also have a real belly band on top of the fake one. Now I'm going to go ahead and add this butterfly right here on top of my belly band, just to add an extra embellishment and layers. Like that. And look how cute this is. And now we can go ahead and add some fun ephemera. Let's add this bingo card in the left pocket and this little card into the right pocket. And how about a beautiful poem from this book? Our Own Sun. I love it because it kind of goes along with the sunflowers. There it goes. And I will add this postcard right here behind our belly band. More butterflies. Wouldn't it be fun to discover in a junk journal or to send to your friend? I think it turned out really cute. And so there we go, friends. We reviewed 3 different techniques on how to reinforce your flimsy papers, such as paper napkins and magazine pages. And all those techniques do not involve freezer paper. And we also made a couple of fun projects with our newly reinforced papers. Please go ahead and let me know in the comments which technique you prefer. And let me know which one of these 2 projects you like better and if you're going to give them a try. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with your friends and with your crafting groups. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I can't wait to see you next time.